Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Anime Dudes podcast. My name is Bjorvio, and joining me on this incredible episode today, we have
the Anime Dad, aka Riley.
And guys, this is the moment that I've been waiting to talk about since we started this. We get to talk about the bestest boy in My Hero Academia. We get to talk about Mirio Togeta today. So stay tuned. This episode's going to be awesome. Let's get all the legal stuff out of the way first.
Legal.
If you like the podcast, please get in contact with us. Let us know. Give us a rating. 5 stars really means a lot. If you got any improv ideas, send that in to myself or Anime Dad. We would love to get that on. And other than that, did I forget anything?
You forgot that if you get harmed or injured while listening to the podcast, it's not our fault, all right? You've signed a disclaimer. If you get harmed, injured, your ears start bleeding, it's not our fault, okay? You can't sue us. That's all I wanted to say. Yeah, continue.
You make a valid point. Very good. Okay, let's get into frickin' Mirio Togeta. Okay. I'm excited about this. So where we left off in the last one was we left off at the end of the Bakugo and Deku fight, and I think we had a pretty good discussion about that. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say it's an S tier discussion that we had. It was on point, and it sounded pretty amazing. We've had some good feedback we had some good feedback on it, which is quite cool as well. The fans like it. So, and yeah, Mirio Togeta, before we get into it, I just want to say I spoke to the English voice actor Rico Fajarno, and he's a real life Mirio. He has the same traits. Obviously he sounds the same, but even his normal voice sounds the same.
Yeah, it does.
He is kind. He explains things so well. He is. It's like the same person. If I met him in real life, I'd think he is the real life Mirio Togeta. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, I've met him in real life. He signed my Mirio. For those that are on camera, you can see it. And we just had a 5-minute talk about just fan fiction about Mirio that was so stinking cool. Like, how did he make enough hair to make a suit that, goes along with him and everything? It was just really stinking cool. He's an absolutely fantastic man. And it was an absolute pleasure to meet him in real life. So yeah, you interviewed him. I met him. In both cases, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend.
Heck to the year. And his introduction, obviously he walks into the room. We didn't talk about it last week, but he walks into the room.
Oh, no. His introduction is actually he just has it with Deku. There's a part where Deku's taking out the trash. He's still under house arrest. And then his face comes through the wall and he just goes, "Trash, am I right?"
What a perfect introduction, especially for the guy. I didn't know who the heck he was. I thought he was a villain or someone from and obviously Deku didn't feel threatened at all, but he didn't, even after that, he didn't introduce himself until the classroom.
Yeah, and then we get to meet all 3 of the big 3, and I love all 3 of them. We get to meet the great Tamaki Yamajiki, who imagines everyone as potatoes and still can't talk to them. Then we have Nejire Hado, who talks way too much to everyone, but never gets any actual answers from them. And then we have Mirio, who's like, you know what? Fight me.
Yeah, I'll show you how it all works. I'll show you the power. And it's a lot of that interaction's cool. And I like how what's the girl's name again? The big 3 girl?
Nejire Hado.
Yeah, I like how she walks around and she's like, "Oh, I love your quirk. How does it work?" And she's real positive, and the chemistry that the 3 of them have is on point. It works really, really well. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And now Mirio, at that point, he's in his last year of school. Is that right?
Yeah.
Last year of school. He's been through an incredible training arc, obviously, and his quirk has adjusted and changed, and fit to suit his lifestyle. But now, without meeting Deku without reading Overhaul, what's your thoughts on this? Do you think he would have been able to be the number one hero on his own?
Without the help of Sir Night-Eye, without any of that, it is possible. I mean, Mirio has put in the work. Mirio has a quirk that he's owned. He's made it its own, and he has just become an absolute powerhouse with a quirk that really, as they say, isn't all that great. I think he's definitely plus, and I mean, at least for you and me, I think Mirio already is the number one hero. But
yeah, I can agree with that. And let's do a quick fire. Mirio versus Eraserhead.
I think Mirio can probably it would be a very close fight, but Mirio isn't dependent on his quirk as much as a lot of other people are. So I could see Mirio potentially taking Eraserhead.
Ooh, Mirio Fat Gum.
Fat Gum. I don't think Mirio has a way to hurt him.
Ah, yeah, true. Mirio Shigaraki.
Shigaraki, I would think. I think Mirio would give him a run for his money, but Shigaraki just needs to touch any one part of him. If Mirio makes any kind of mistake, it's all over.
True. All right, final one. Mirio versus the Hero Killer.
Ooh, that's a good one because they both rely a lot on prediction, which is interesting and trying to control the fight. But I think Mirio probably could give the hero killer more of a run for his money than vice versa. So I'm actually going to say that Mirio on this one.
Nice. I agree with that as well. Good. Really good. All right, and then he fights all of them and gets nude. And for those of you who haven't watched it, might sound strange, but it works out. He obviously wasn't wearing his hero gear, so when his quirk permeation turns on, it affects his clothes, and he goes through his clothes as well. How do you think? How do you think the way he handled the fight went? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it was stunning. I mean, the way he really understood what he had to do, and he just went in and did it. Even seeing him like when Deku realized where he was going to be, he didn't let it. He's like, "Oh, okay, cool. Predict, boom," and it just shows how much experience really gets to play in a fight. Because Mirio's like, "Oh yeah, I fought people that can predict where I'm going to do this before. It's not a big deal. I know how to counter that." He had a counter for anything Class 1A threw at him, except maybe potentially Todoroki, who was not in the fight.
Ooh, true. How do you think Todoroki would go against him?
I think it would probably still end up the same, but Mirio would be a lot less comfortable with people that can freeze half of the arena in no time flat.
Yeah.
That's less easy to predict.
Right. I mean, Mirio could obviously go through the ice and the fire at some point, but still, yeah, really interesting thought. And it was the best way he could really teach them how his power worked, and also the extent of his abilities now, and also the gap between his class or him and them. And I think that was a really, really good demonstration of that. And I like the fact that Deku didn't kick his butt, but Deku just did something different to the other people, which showed his potential, and made
Agreed.
made that interaction more special. All right, and then after that, we move on to what, Bjorvio?
After that, I don't remember the exact turn of events, but at some point, I think it's pretty soon after this, we officially step into season 4, and Deku gets to go work for the Night Eye Agency. And in fact, if I remember correctly, Mirio actually recommends him, but he still has to go talk to Sir Night Eye and still has to audition. And that's when we get the great Deku, the great All Might face off where it's I am here, ha ha ha. What are you doing? Your wrinkles are all in the wrong place. Do you disgrace All Might by doing this? I love that they're both All Might fanboys, but in such totally different ways.
That is so true. And his face, I got a fright. I was like, oh no, he's not funny. But his ability to say, no, it was the vinegar vinegar incident that made All Might's crow's feet look slightly different. I wasn't teasing him. I decided to go with this particular incident that I really, really enjoyed. That was a perfect decision by Deku, I believe, because he knew Sir Night was such a big fan. Walking into that, a bit of a weird entrance of Sir Night, by the way, tickling that.
Not only tickling her, strapped to a tickling machine while he has the blankest expression on his face, telling her, you need to laugh more.
I know. I mean, I understand his thought process, but the Me Too movement would get Sir Night in this current society.
Oh, man, yeah. But how great was the fight between Deku and Night?
It was perfect. It was perfect, and the way Deku was going with Gran Turismo's moves, bouncing off the walls, using his full cowling, but it came out obviously that he didn't touch any of the All Might memorabilia or the posters. He didn't want to affect it, so he was moving at that speed. But he could have probably beat Sir Night, but he didn't want to touch any of the memorabilia, and that was such a special moment for both of them as well, and such a great form of plot there as well. What's your thoughts on that?
I completely agree, especially with the whole plot dynamic, because really what it was a good way of furthering the plot while building a connection with these two on a psychological level and proving to Sir Night like, yes, you can see the future, but you can't see everything.
Yes. Yeah, very, very true. And then obviously he takes him on. Lemillion talks about it's moving into the overhaul arc, and Lemillion talks about his name. Do you think his name suits him as a hero?
At first I didn't think so. I thought it was a little like that's a little strange, but the more that we see Lemillion throughout the arc, it's like, okay, yeah, that works. I can get behind this. He's very in your face about what he wants to do. And I think by naming yourself your goal, that is such a Lemillion thing to do, because now people are going to hold him to it.
Yes, completely agree. And he's got this optimism, but that just proved to me that it wasn't necessarily blind optimism like many people have or many heroes have. I can't save everyone, but I'm going to aim to save at least 1 million people. It was optimism that I'm going to do it, but I've obviously got my faults. I'm not perfect. And I like that particular balance in his thought process there as well.
Completely agreed.
Then meeting Eri for the first time.
Can we just take a minute to talk about how well written that scene is? Because you actually feel, what I like is that Mirio and Deku they want the same thing, but they don't. But Mirio, being the more experienced one's like, we can't blow this operation. And Deku, on the other hand, being the less experienced, is we have to save this girl. And so they're both conflicted. They're both trying to figure out what to do. And meanwhile, Overhaul's just becoming more and more menacing as this goes on. Eri's just scared. And as soon as the absolutely phenomenal writing, the scene is incredible.
Completely agree. It is, and the music score for this particular scene, you're walking with them, you don't expect anything to happen. He bumps into her, the music changes, Overhaul comes out, you feel a sense of power, dread, fear in the air, and the way it's done, the music choices, the expressions on everyone's face, the manipulation in Overhaul's voice. What now? Obviously, they regret not doing anything at that time. And do you think Mirio was in the wrong there to take a step back and reassess?
You see, to this day, I still don't know which one was in the wrong and which one, if they were both wrong or if they were both right. I mean, we know the events that came later, but it's like, what would have happened if they tried to take Overhaul in that alley with their quirks at that time? You know, number one, it would have blown the whole operation. They would have had no backup. Number two, are their quirks strong enough to defeat Overhaul when he, or three, what if they just ran with Airy? Well, then Overhaul would have chased them and it still would have blown the whole operation. Like, it's one of those, is there really a good ending to that situation? I don't think so. And if there is, I mean, whatever you decide, people are going to get affected. People are going to get hurt. And is there really a right answer? I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, you bring out some good points there. I mean, if they did decide to grab Eri, they didn't have enough information to know, he said it was his daughter. Obviously she had bandages. She wanted to stay with Deku. There was obviously intimidation there. But in a real life scenario, there's a lot of gray areas there. Obviously, Tsunade,
right.
Moving on later, some really bad things happened because of the decisions they made. But could it have been worse? Could we have lost Deku as well as Lemillion at that particular point? So, yeah, we don't know. We can't see the future.
And that's the thing. You bring up a good point. In a real life situation, that's completely different or if the villain would have had a less powerful quirk, that's a completely different thing. But if Deku and Lemillion were taken out, and definitely could be taken out by Overhaul's quirk, then they're gone and they still have Eri. But then if they're both taken out, the heroes can't formulate a plan really to get her back. So is that really, that's a whole mess of gray area. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think there's a right answer. I think what ended up happening is definitely an answer. Is it the best one? I don't know. But, it was definitely entertaining.
It was entertaining. It was, for sure. And obviously Deku goes away. His thought process is there. They're battered by this guilt of, did I make the wrong decision? Did I make the right decision? What comes next? They wanted to help. And all the heroes get together for that particular meeting to discuss the plan of action. I don't necessarily agree with Sir Night-Eye's choice not to use foresight on a human. I probably go more with the Lock guy, because there's such high stakes. Obviously, he was affected so negatively about what he saw through All Might, but that's his quirk. It's an incredible power. Could he have not used it on a human and seen and foretell, where they are or where? What's your thoughts on that?
Again, there's a lot of great arguments in this. Like, I understand where Night-Eye's coming from, but Locke, what's his face? I can't remember his hero name. He makes a good point too, and and then Fat Gum brings a good point. Which, oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about the bullet that took out Amajiki's quirk temporarily, which must have been absolutely terrifying. And then we get one of the coolest scenes in My Hero when Red Riot goes to go after this villain who amplifies his own power. And then this isn't the first time we get character development from Red Riot, I don't think, but I think it's the most impactful that we've had so far for him.
Yeah, it definitely is impactful. And the way he dealt with the situation was very smart. I mean, he maybe shouldn't have fought that villain by himself. He was protecting the pedestrians at the time. But he did a really good job, and his quirk and his quirk development was amazing. It's so
It
cool
was.
the way he I forget what he calls it, full harden or
Um, oh shoot, what I forget. Why do I forget? I don't know, but it had a really cool name. I think whatever it was, I'm just really bad at remembering
Me
things.
too, me too. But it was so
Uh,
cool, and that guy's quirk was a bit scary, to be honest, and it negatively, could have really done some damage. But he stopped him in his tracks, and that was a cool moment. That punch at the end, really, really cool. A+ for that particular fight for me.
Completely agree. And then having Fat Gum take up a role of talking about the bullets and everything because he used to work for do a lot of things with drugs. I think he said like he was, I don't remember what it was, but actually part of that is covered in My Hero Vigilantes. You get to see Fat Gum doing what he's talking about there, which is cool. But anyway, besides the point. And so now we're back to the meeting and everyone's kind of discussing what to do. And other than the whole using foresights thing, the plan makes sense to have a bunch of smaller heroes go out, scan the area. But it does feel weird that the way they figured it out was with Night Eye using foresight after he swore up and down he wouldn't. Excuse me. I was fighting that for like 20 seconds.
I could hear it coming. Someone's obviously talking about you. But no, I agree with that. I mean, and that's probably a good spot to maybe end the discussion and move on to improv, because we move on to such an incredible, I think the next one would we talk about the whole breaking into the facility rescue. And the rescue. And I again, I know we sort of talk about Goosebumps so regularly, but I get goosebumps so much in that particular scene, in that particular arc, that I'm really looking forward to talking about that as well. Now, for improv, you love Lemillion so much? Do you improv Lemillion? Can you do his voice?
He's a little high for me, but let me see if what is something that he says. What are you talking about? I don't know you at all.
That's really good. My goodness. Can you do nothing wrong? My goodness, that's great.
All right. Let me do Top Bros. It's awful.
All right. Well then you do Lemillion. I will do let's say Lemillion meeting Lemillion talking to Deku about Joffrey's coffee.
I'm down. I'm always down for that. I'll start.
Okay.
Hey, Deku. Quick thing. Have you ever heard of this Joffrey's coffee place?
I haven't, Mirio. I haven't. I usually have Starbucks. It's pretty good.
A Starbucks? Wow, you're so lame. Don't you know anything about Joffrey's? How do you think my quirk got to be so good? It's not that I can just predict it. It's that I'm like Amajiki. Sometimes when I drink something like Joffrey's coffee, it really proves it. You should have seen. There's a reason that Amajiki can't drink it. Well, he can, but then he turns into like a living deity with his quirk.
It sounds really good, but I've heard that Joffrey's is trash. Am I right?
Those people are trash, am I right? No, not Joffrey's. Deku, let me give it to you straight. When I work out and I work hard, my quirk was so hard to use that I couldn't even phase through a wall and walk through it. But then I had some Joffrey's coffee. Now I can do this back and forth. Heck, now I can even keep my clothes on so you don't have to see my willy.
I'll give it a go then, Mirio. Maybe we can have some in the morning of over when we have to go save Eri. Because then then I'll maybe be able to use one for all at 1,000,000,000%.
I don't know what you're talking about. What the heck is one for all?
Sorry. Oh my goodness, I shouldn't have said that. That was good. What the? You're very good at that, bro. I'm gonna tag Rico in that particular improv. That'll be awesome because that's on point. That is really really good. He's gonna be nervous when he sees that. He's gonna be like, Don, my job is on the line. My job is on the line. No,
I would
that's
never steal his job. The man deserves every cent he owns.
We need to get you in an anime. We do need to get you in an anime. That's definitely on the cards, I think, for the rest of this year. I'm gonna tag the appropriate people and we're gonna get you in there. Because your talent needs to be seen by more people than the anime dudes. Or we can just bottle up your talent in a little bottle and just keep it for ourselves. I think that's probably more. I think I prefer that.
That sounds more on brand. Yeah.
It's on brand.
That sounds more on brand for us.
And I'm going to tag Joffrey's Coffee as well because it's about freaking time that we get some Joffrey's Coffee in this. I want to be having a Joffrey Coffee mug. I want to be drinking it. I want to be promoting it, wearing a shirt. You want
to. So what you're saying is you feel like the fact that there's no Joffreys in New Zealand is absolutely a crime against humanity. And if you could have one quirk, it would be to disperse Joffrey's coffee to the fine people of New Zealand.
That's exactly right. It's probably on the same level as pain as when Sir Nightai. No, I'm not going to get there. No, thank you very much. That was amazing. You are very, very good. Could you take us out with another one of your incredible voices? And you decide who and take us home.
What voice should I do? I'll just do Bakugo's. Why not? Hey, nerds. Thank you for tuning in to the the Anime Dudes podcast, where only the nerds listen. So if you're a nerd, you're in the right place. Please, if you like this episode, let us know any way you want. I don't really care. Just get in contact with us, okay? Just do it. I don't want to hear your excuses. And continue to listen to us every week because there's going to be amazing episodes coming back. I mean, we're going to listen to that nerd Midori and take on Overhaul. Okay? So stay tuned for next week, or so help me, I'm going to blow up your face.
Trash, am I right?